Thanks, Pancham, and it's really heartening to see the kind of response that we've gotten here with 88% people really truly believing in the power of HR analytics. Uh, just a quick anecdote or an analogy that comes to my mind, which will possibly help people understand this context a little more in their real life. Uh, so we all, those of us who drive particularly, I'm sure, are using Google Maps for assistance. And if you can go back and remember some of the days when Google Maps wasn't there, and if you were to go a long distance and not familiar with the path, typically, at least I remember so many occasions when one would typically roll down the window and call people on the street to figure out the path, and then possibly take a few wrong turns, eventually get there, and then try and see what happened and what didn't. And that to me, is the occurrence of Google Maps really is what really signifies the power of analytics. So imagine if before you go anywhere, if you can just simply punch in the location and you get to see the time and the route and the distance, etc. That's available. Now that is something what predictive is all about. That there's somebody out there looking at all data points, looking at traffic, looking at bottlenecks on the path, and be able to advise you on the best path to get there. And that's really what predictive is all about. And it doesn't really stop there, because when we move from predictive to really the prescriptive part of analytics, Google does that pretty well as well, when it says that okay, you may be 5 minutes delayed, and there is, by the way, a faster route available, and here you may get lesser traffic, and that to me is prescriptive. So I think that's a brilliant tool that we all use in our daily lives, and I feel that has the power that analytics really holds as far as life and specifically also HR is concerned. So that's the opening remark from my side, and that's the power that we live each day, and I look forward to hearing the views from my co-panelists now. Yeah, Pancham, I think every need leads to some invention. And I think while the need for analytics is growing, there is also deep realization and possibly a common challenge that organizations face today, which is data being either siloed or residing in multiple data sources. And there is clearly a need of a tool or a layer of analytics which can actually consume data from various such data points, and then still be able to, without really organizations having to part ways with the systems they are using, use the same technology that they've been using and put a layer on top of it, so that at least something can happen. So yes, there are organizations which have uh, very actively started looking at these kind of solutions.
So basically what you're saying is that if they have 10 different systems, they actually build a layer of data where all the systems actually are sending data to a lake, maybe a data lake, and from the data lake you are actually looking at conducting analysis.
Absolutely.
So
it's a topical layer. It doesn't change your bedrock of data, but serves your purpose.
Interesting. Well, thanks, Gaurav. So
yeah, interesting question, I must say, Pancham, and it's true. I mean, organizations today don't have a lot of data from the past for them to be able to really predict what's going to happen in the future. So data, there's always a dearth of it. And there are occasions where we have seen, without, like you said, naming the organizations, where we've had um, organizations approach us, let's say, to address one of the biggest questions, which is to possibly, let's say, predict attrition. And one of the use cases they would typically say is that while we'll have, let's say, performance data or maybe some sentiment data from engagement tools and stuff like that, but is there data sourcing available which you can do from the social web? Because imagine if today you are disengaged and you want to really start looking out, possibly you will start getting more active on LinkedIn, you will start getting more active on some other portals, and a lot of such portals especially exist on the IT side, where you see that, now, but challenge there is the whole element of privacy and the whole element of the GDPR laws and those things which are coming in, as to what extent can you get into peeping inside what individuals are doing in their personal lives, and where should organizations really be able to draw the line. I think that's a classic dilemma, and a lot of projects, even while there could be data available in the outside world, can organizations really leverage that data? And if yes, to what extent is a question that all of us are yet to answer. So I think one of the largest use cases of HR analytics is in the areas we've spoken, and performance. Clearly, I mean, there's correlation to state that organizations who are on the path of HR analytics are doing well from a top line perspective and a bottom line perspective, and are even being considered better employers. So I think, as Ramesh ji was mentioning a while back, the same applies to, this thing. The journey starts with really measurement of data. Now, one of the challenges typically we see from a performance standpoint is that performance, and especially if I look at, let's say, sales performance or manufacturing performance. Now, these, um, at least in the Indian context, are considered little more owned by line heads or sales heads. And I think one of the larger problems really HR currently faces is to be able to build those relationships and get access to all the data that HR needs to be able to marry business results with the other HR data available. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And organizations who've been able to successfully get access, and when we say HR's, seat on the table, that's really the whole journey. That when HR is deeply involved in performance reviews and is not considered as an outsider who would just be looking at the ratings at the end of the year, but somebody who's nurturing performance management as the dialogues happen, whether it's on a monthly basis or journey cycle meets in the FMCG context. And I think there are classic examples of organizations where true business HR has established its seat on the table in performance dialogues, and then there is no challenge of data, and you could build beautiful use cases and correlations, and the whole. I think the secret to success lies in that simple answer, as far as that is concerned.
Gaurav.
Sure. So I think the science remains the same, and you have to start looking at more granular. I mean, I would say it's more advantageous when you're a smaller team. I would say your assumptions would tend to get a little more sharper, because if you're a smaller team, you would know them a lot more, and you would be able to align better as far as the hypothesis is concerned, as far as the assumptions are concerned, as far as uh, defining the end goal for the analytics is concerned, the business case is concerned. So I think, as far as the data is concerned, so I would say I would really encourage small organizations to start early on, because the goal which you where you want to go, the data that you need for getting there, the hypothesis, the alignment, the team, everything is to your advantage. And do not really wait for um, really high-end BI tools or AI tools or ML tools. You can start with simple Excel, if so be it. The idea is that, it has to deliver. You have to deliver value to the business, and analytics necessarily doesn't mean that we fall fancy with all the terms that larger organizations use today. And that's really what my key message to them is, that you don't need to be a great practitioner if you don't have the Excel skills. So it's okay, you can get somebody else, build a cross functional team. You at least know the organization needs, and you at least know human behavior, you know so I think that's how I'd like to respond to that.